The silence of Elias Vance's office was broken only by the faint hum of his computer monitor and the distant crackle of the fireplace in his cozy living room. Outside, Tuesday night enveloped the city in a cold, damp embrace, the wet leaves of the trees seeming to cry out for colors that winter had stolen from them. But for Elias, the cold was the least of his problems. He was a wood artisan, a creator of furniture that looked more like living sculptures, each piece exuding the soul of the forest and the meticulous touch of his calloused hands. He knew the name of every grain, the history of every vein, and the secret of joining what nature had created into something functionally beautiful. The smell of cedar and oak, always present in his attached workshop, was his favorite perfume. He had always believed his work would speak for itself. For years, word of mouth kept his business alive, a flickering but constant flame. However, the world had changed. People no longer passed by his small rustic storefront by chance. They searched, and Elias knew they searched online. That's why he had invested. There was an elegant website, high resolution, photos of his imposing dining tables and sculpted bookshelves, and what pained him most, a robust blog section. Weekly, punctually, like a religious ritual, he published articles. He discussed the art of joinery, the sustainability of local wood harvesting, the timeless beauty of Shaker style. His words were sincere, filled with the love he felt for his art. Yet the numbers on his traffic analysis screen told a different story, a story of desperate invisibility. Elias closed his eyes, pinching the bridge of his nose. Low organic traffic, despite regular publishing. A voice echoed in his mind, almost mocking, from the countless searches he had done on how to make my website appear on Google. He saw the insignificant peaks and valleys on his graph, a straight, monotonous line that refused to ascend. It was like screaming into a vacuum. He clearly remembered a meeting, weeks ago, with a young, jargon-filled digital consultant. The young man, with a perfectly aligned, toothy smile and an overly tight blazer, had gestured dramatically. "Your content, Elias, is a king without a crown. Great content, yes, but it's invisible. Google just can't see it. You're not ranking on the first page, Elias, and whoever isn't on the first page." He had shrugged, letting the sentence die in the air, as if Elias's fate were already sealed. The consultant was right, though Elias hated him for it. None of his blog posts, and there were dozens of them, could even reach the second page of search results for terms he thought relevant. He wrote, published, waited, and the content, like the wood waiting in his storage to be worked, sat there, ignored. Elias Vance, the master carpenter, was about to tear his own hair out of frustration, because his art, his legacy, could not be found by anyone in the vast and unforgiving digital realm. He needed more than pretty words. He needed them to be seen. He knew he couldn't do it alone anymore. The realization weighed in his chest like a massive block of walnut. He, the man who had built his own workshop, who had restored furniture with an almost monastic patience, was cornered by something as ethereal as codes and algorithms. The silence of the night, once a bomb for his mind, now seemed to mock his digital helplessness. He got up from his office chair, a soft creak of his joints echoing in the air. He walked to the window, watching the drizzle turn the street into an opaque mirror under the flickering streetlights. He could feel the texture of the invisible wood, the perfect lines he sought in his creations. But the map of the digital realm was a tangled mess he could not decipher. A spark, a stubborn remnant of the same spirit that made him sand a piece until its surface was as smooth as a mirror, ignited. Giving up was not an option for Elias Vance. He had not dedicated his life to such a noble art to see it die in digital obscurity. With a sigh that carried the weight of his frustration, but also the promise of a new attempt, he returned to the digital abyss. This time his searches were more precise, more desperate. How to get my content to show up on Google. Blog writer for ranking. SEO services for small businesses. He scoured for hours, his screen lit like a solitary hope in the darkness. Many sites displayed the same generic promises as the tight-blazered consultant. Many others were too technical, using language that seemed more suited for computer programmers than for a carpenter. Elias wanted something that spoke to him, that understood his pain, but that also demonstrated the how. Then, in the cold dawn, the first page, the one the slender consultant had spoken of with such reverence, suddenly displayed something different. It wasn't a flashing ad, nor an exaggerated catchphrase. It was a site that opened with clarity, a clean design, and a title that pierced his layer of skepticism. Expert SEO, content writing services, drive organic traffic and conversions. The words innovative content, search optimized organic traffic, and increase your sales shone in a way his own site, however well made, never could. That skeptical ardor, a scar from countless failed attempts and empty speeches, immediately flared up. Another digital illusion salesman, another empty promise. But, instead of the usual generic gibberish, this page listed challenges Elias knew intimately. Low organic traffic despite regular publishing, content that doesn't rank on Google's first page, lack of time or in-house expertise for keyword research and optimization. It was as if the page was reading his most painful thoughts, each item an exact echo of his anxieties. And, beneath each pain, came the solution. formulated not as a miracle, but as a process. Higher search engine rankings, increased organic traffic of qualified leads, improved conversion rates and ROI. There were sections detailing strategic keyword research, content creation by skilled writers, meticulous on-page optimization, and even something called content audits and revitalization. For old posts, something Elias didn't even know was possible. Elias had never thought of content this way, not as an isolated piece of literature, but as a vital gear in a complex machine, one that needed visibility. He took a deep breath, a distant scent of wood filling his nostrils. Perhaps, just perhaps, this was not another blazer-wearing charlatan. Perhaps this was the tool, the perfect fit, the dovetail joint that would unite his analog passion with the relentless digital universe. He closed the laptop, not with the despair from before, but with a strange mixture of apprehension and a spark of hope. The digital journey, for Elias Vance, was about to take a completely new turn. He would no longer be the uncrowned king. On the following day, the morning light of an incipient Wednesday illuminated Elias's workshop with a pale but hopeful glow. The decision, matured overnight, was clear. With one last hesitant click, he filled out the form to request a custom quote, sending his hope into the digital ether. The reply came in a few hours, and the conversation that followed was surprisingly different. Instead of empty jargon, a calm, articulate voice spoke on the other end of the line, talking about identifying the right fibers for your audience and sculpting the narrative with strategic keywords. It wasn't just a promise. It was a detailed plan, which considered Elias's time and budget, and most importantly, the soul of his work. Months passed, filled with the hum of his planer and the sound of the keyboard in his room. The SEO content writing services team he had hired worked diligently. Old articles were carefully revitalized like the patina of a restored antique piece, and new posts, now rich in keywords Elias would never have thought to use, but which in fact his ideal clients were searching for, began to populate his blog. His website copy was rewritten, each paragraph not only eloquent, but strategically positioned to be seen by Google's robotic eyes. The turning point came 3 months later. Elias, accustomed to his routine of online disappointment, almost didn't notice at first, but then, the monotonous graphs on his analytics dashboard began to dance. Those insignificant peaks and valleys gave way to gentle mountains, then steeper hills. The low organic traffic was, finally, growing. And most exciting, some of his new publications and revitalized pages were starting to appear not just on the first page of Google, but, in some cases, in the top positions for highly relevant terms, such as solid wood artisan furniture and antique cedar furniture restoration. The silence of his office was no longer one of frustration, but of productivity. Consultation emails multiplied. The phone rang more frequently. Social media, once a dessert for his posts, showed signs of genuine engagement. With people commenting and sharing the incredible craftsmanship they now found online, new commissions emerged. A set of oak chairs for a boutique hotel, a walnut modular bookcase for a bibliophile from another state, all from clients who found Vance's fine woodworks online. Elias, the master carpenter, was now also a master of digital visibility, thanks to the right partnership. His art had always spoken for itself, but now, with the right words and the visibility they provided, it could shout to the four winds. As he worked on a new piece, carving intricate details into a piece of ash, a rare but deep smile curved his lips. The smell of cedar and oak, always his favorite perfume, now seemed to carry also the gentle aroma of digital success, a success that he, Elias Vance, had finally carved with the help of words that were in themselves true works of art.